it was a really easy transition, or a natural transition, to go from working in a soap to becoming part of the Stockacre Waterman PWL factory. I was a good part of the machinery, because that's what I did. I turn up to work on time, you put what I have to do in front of me, and I do it. So I did fit in really well. There was times where it was a little frustrating or nerve-wracking or just difficult, because I was juggling Neighbours and trying to record. I think I did my part of the album in 2 weeks or something ridiculous. But now I fully appreciate that, why they call themselves a hit factory. It's what they did, and I feel quite honoured to have been part of that history. Being at the centre of all of that hype and all of that success, it was like being in the eye of a storm. There's so much that I missed. A lot of it was a blur at the time. I just remember, it's a different country every 1 or 2 days. Well, Michael was instrumental in lots of ways, and lots of parts of my life at that time. Actually, still is today, I suppose. But that was more, I guess, in the last couple of years with PWL, and then, I'm sure he encouraged me to move on, but I don't remember doing that because of something that Michael said. Come to think of it, people wondered what the hell I was doing at that time, because I left Neighbours, which was the #1 show. I was there for 2.5 years. Then I leave PWL. It was the end of my contract. I didn't break it, but decided to leave after that. And I remember people saying, "Why? What are you doing?" And it was just instinctive. I didn't really know what I was doing when I left PWL. I did meet with various record companies, and Deconstruction, I liked their attitude. I quite like their arrogance. I like the vision that they had. It was all very new and exciting, and there wouldn't be much point to leave PWL and go somewhere else exactly the same. So it was a big change. It was certainly not as successful as the time with PWL, but I think it did what needed to be done. When I was 4, my mother put me into music class. I was with a bunch of other raucous 4- and 5-year-olds, banging, making noises with sticks and glockenspiels and whatever. And my parents never forced any of us to kind of choose this career path. My mum was really keen to give us the option and just to introduce us to different artistic and creative ventures, and specifically music. I played piano, flute, violin till I was about 13, by which time I'd become a slave to pop music, and an acquaintance of my mother worked in the casting department of a production company, and they needed a little girl for this role. I ended up getting a different role with that company. So started acting when I was 9. I never intended to be a singer. I always loved singing, and I remember being 16 years old on the set of The Henderson Kids, which was a mini-series I did. And another one of the girls, Nadine Garner, the two of us used to sing all the time. So I did love it. I loved it when I was even little, like 8 or 9, singing to Grease, thinking or wishing that I could be Olivia Newton-John. But after I'd worked when I was 16, when I was 17, I had a little bit of money, so I recorded a demo tape with 3 songs on it. But I didn't do that to become a singer. I did it because I thought it would be helpful, more strings to your bow as an actor. So I was working and finishing my last 2 years of high school. But yeah, it was Neighbours that was the one where I started to get recognised and had to suddenly deal with being slightly famous. The song with Nick Cave, it's got quite a history. I actually remember Michael Hutchence saying to me, "My friend Nick wants to do a song with you. I was interested in doing something with you." And I actually didn't know too much about Nick Cave before I met him. So that was years ago. And then I'd seen a photo of Nick Cave on tour with a Kylie bag, and I think I might have even seen or heard something else. These little things throughout the years. And when it finally came to it, I was in Melbourne, and he was in Melbourne at the same time, and we were on the same record label by this time. So the message came through that he was interested in having me duet with him on the Murder Ballads album. Had to speed read a biography on Nick Cave, which of course had me going, oh, that was fantastic. And he was leaving a message with my mom because I was staying at home with my parents, and I would call back and leave a message with his mum. So it wasn't rock and roll like people might expect. Hi, is Nick there? Can you just let him know that Kylie called? Long story short, the day that I recorded my vocals for Where the Wild Roses Grow was the first day I met Nick, and I think that added a lot to the song, and the tenderness and the sexual tension, and the kind of the frailty of that song. Locomotion came about. There was a charity concert that was organised for a football club, and a bunch of us from Neighbours decided we'd help out. I think there were some big supporters of this team in the cast, and I've always believed that any given TV cast and crew, film cast and crew, you can make a band, because there's always someone that fancies themselves as a drummer and someone a singer. So we formed this little band, and I can't even remember the song we did. It was another song. We came off stage and we were all just buzzing from doing this live gig. And we said, should we go out again? We had nothing prepared, and I said, why don't we do Locomotion? Everyone knows Locomotion, and did it. Very, very pop fairy tale stuff. There was a guy who worked at the TV station where we shot Neighbours and produced a music show, and he came up to me afterwards and said, that was really good, you should make a record. And I do recall thinking, I could make a video. I was really excited about the video. So I did record a demo of Locomotion, and the demo vocals were the vocals that stayed on Locomotion, which became a hit around the world. Impossible Princess did have not the luck that I was used to having. I'm really glad for that experience, even for everything that didn't work about it. It was actually, I think it was essential that I went through that experience. Actually, people ask me a lot, did you think it was all over? And not in an egotistical way, just in a natural way. I just thought, well, there's things I have to do. I never thought that was it. What I did do was go back to Australia, because the album had actually been really successful there, and go on tour. And it was like prescribing medicine for myself. Go where it is appreciated, where you don't have to keep dealing with people. This happened. You must be so depressed. Parlophone. Well, I think we found each other at the right time. When I finished with Deconstruction, again met with a few different record companies. This time, they all pretty much said the same thing. We want to make a pop album with you, da-di-da-di-da. I said, that's great, that's what I want to do as well. So we launched into Light Years with that attitude. I had a few keywords that were poolside, disco, cocktail, beach, hence, Love Boat, Cuckoo, all those type of songs. It was really indulgent and unashamed. We just went, nah, this is what I want to do. I'm going to be as camp as I can possibly be, and just go for it. And everyone loved it. And so that's obviously what was right at that time, and was a beautiful beginning with Parlophone. And I had to work that record a lot throughout Europe to remind people, well, I guess to reintroduce myself. And it was called a comeback, and I didn't mind that at all. I really didn't. I thought it was pretty appropriate in a lot of places. So we came back with Spinning Around, and I remember listening to the radio, waiting and waiting to hear. And when I finally heard that it was number one, I actually was speechless. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say anything. I just walked into the room and there was people waiting. They knew I'd gone out to get the call. Must have been thinking, what on earth can we say? And I just walked in, just went and cried. And that was that. The link from the initial demo of Locomotion is I got my record deal with Mushroom Records in Australia with that, and they had an engineer / producer called Mike Duffy in Australia at the time, who was from PWL, and he was in Australia working on some different projects, so they asked him to produce Locomotion. He did that. That was number one for 7 weeks, and then I guess that because Neighbours was successful at that time in England, I guess the next logical step was to try and repeat that success here. So we met up with PWL. The first track I recorded with them was I Should Be So Lucky, so that ended up being the first single here. So yeah, decided to take matters into my own hand, get to Australia, get on the road, and it was an invaluable experience because then it's right in front of you. You see what people are responding to, what they liked best, what they didn't really, And that was when I brought in the showgirl. She came into the concert. It was about, I think from memory, 4 songs that was suddenly very pink. Boys with pink feather fans on them, and the image that eventually led to the Olympics, the showgirl thing at the Olympics, that really has become just part of me. I don't think she's going to go away in a hurry, that's for sure. So it was a really important time. What's it like being Kylie? It's... I'm still in the eye of a storm. They're all giggling at me because they just like, I don't know. I just try and cope. Some days I feel like I'm actually in a madhouse, but when I talk about touring, that is exciting. That makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense is weeks and months of promotion, and I defy any artist to say that they really like it. You can, hey, it's enjoyable in small doses, but that is the draining part, and sometimes the press intrusion is that's a little much to cope with as well. But basically, it's all good.